month. And America's Heroes Group Roundtable, the State of Illinois Community Outreach Census Count. That's what we're going to be talking about, which is extremely important. And we are pleased to have someone who knows all about it. She knows everything. She's sitting here. She knows I'm telling the truth. Marishonta Wilkerson, who is the director of the State of Illinois Census Office. And of course, obviously, the discussion is about the 2020 census, and everyone counts. How are you today?
I'm doing well.
Good. I want to just bring this young lady has gotten so much experience, government and legal experience, to the state's effort to ensure a complete count. Since January 17, she has served as assistant counsel to the Speaker of the Illinois House of Representatives, where she handled a broad range of high-profile public policy issues, lead technical research, and provided bill analysis and legal guidance for members of the General Assembly, their staff, and committees. And prior to her work in state government experience, our guest worked in the Zeke, Georgia Legal Clinic as the Illinois Bar Foundation Fellow, where she managed an array of family law, domestic violence, and estate planning cases. A fluent Spanish speaker, she's earned her JD from Northern Illinois University College of Law and a Bachelor of Arts in Spanish Literature from Spelman College, and we are just so pleased to have her here. She is, of course, was appointed by Governor J.B. Pritzker as one of the new state census office directors. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Tell us about this. I mean, this is so important. The census is. And a lot of folks don't have any. They don't understand that.
This is true.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll start from the beginning, from our office.
Sure.
In June of 2019, the Governor, J.B. Pritzker, through executive order, created the State of Illinois Census Office. And the General Assembly decided that $29 million would go for our state census efforts. And so that census office is housed in the Department of Human Services. Mm-hmm. And the governor and the secretary of the Department of Human Services wanted to make sure that an aggressive effort is put towards hard-to-count populations for the census. And so hard-to-count is for, they look back at the past census, so in 2010, and see the areas and populations of people who had the lowest response rate to the census. And so if it's under like 75, then we're considering that hard-to-count. And so the census is really important because the census numbers decides how much political representation we have as a state, how many people we have representing us in Congress. And every year, every 10 years in each census, since Illinois started the census, we've lost a representative. And so that's a big deal because we want powerful people fighting for us in Washington, D.C. Right. And the other part of the census is those numbers decide how much federal funding we get. It's billions of dollars. Mm-hmm. And so each person that is a resident of Illinois, that lives in Illinois, gets about $1,800 per year. And so whatever we get after this census, that's what we'll be stuck with for 10 years. And that money goes to roads and school breakfast, school lunch, Medicare, SNAP, and healthcare, all things that we all depend on and want and need. Mm-hmm. And so it's really important for people to be counted. And I would also like to add, it's Black History Month. Right. I am a Black woman. I'm unapologetically Black. And so when the Constitution, which empowers Congress to even have a census, when it was created, Black people were 3/5 of a person. Mm-hmm. We weren't a whole person. And so the census is even more important. It's for us to say, I exist, I'm here, and you are going to see me, and you are going to count me, and you are going to give me the things that I deserve and that I need as a human being. And so if nothing else, we weren't counted before, and our ancestors weren't counted as a whole person before. We need to be counted now.
Very well put. And the money and the number of members of Congress, I know you're working hard on this. do people really understand that based on what you're saying? And I say that because of this, and I'm sure you've heard this. We've lost a lot of people in Illinois. And I was in a meeting with one of our sitting congresspeople and with some other folks. And somebody mentioned to this person, well, Cliff said we might lose a congressperson. This person whose office we were in said we might lose two. And this was the congressperson, but not the one I'm talking about that I think, because we've had so many people who've left the state. Have you seen anything yet to, I hope we don't lose, well, we certainly don't want to lose two. We don't want to lose one for that matter.
This is true. I think it's more likely than not that we will lose one. Mm-hmm. But you're right, we don't want to lose two. Right. We have lost some population, and I think people have to remember too. We have a new governor, and right. So which thankfully, thankfully he saw that this was very important, and he created this office, and the General Assembly put this money here for us to do this work, this $29 million, and so in the previous years there were no efforts to get people right. excited or educated about right. the census. California started 3 or 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. We just started last year. Mm-hmm. And so we got to catch up. Mm-hmm. And so $29 million will help us get there. And so I'm hoping we don't lose two. We're working hard. The state is working hard. Yeah. We're trying to get the word out so that we don't lose two seats.
I certainly hope you're right on that. I think with, obviously, the governor made a good selection and selecting you.
Oh, thank you.
To do that. Tell him I said so. Will you
okay.
Please? That's right. So what do we need to know? There's so many things here.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I know people feel weird about answering the door for people.
Right.
That's the thing.
Right.
And so many times I feel like, at least in the Black and the Latinx community, our parents say, you don't answer that door. I don't care if you know who it is. Don't you answer that door, right? And so now we're telling people, please answer the door.
And you're good. You speak fluent Spanish.
I do.
Yeah.
And so we're telling people, answer the door for the U.S. Census Bureau, the census takers. And so that's like the opposite of what we always been taught. And so we're trying to get the word out that if you complete the census.
And as soon as they hear U.S., close the door.
They won't open the door.
That's right.
But if you complete the census during a self-voluntary period, a self-response period, then you won't have to worry about anybody coming to your door. And so
now explain that. That's important.
So I'm going to go through some very important dates.
Good. Okay.
So we can talk about this. Mm-hmm. And so the self-response period is when the person is like, they will complete the census themselves. And so this year is really big because this is the first year that is basically online. The census will be conducted majority online. And so only about 5% of the residents will receive a paper census form initially. And so between March 12th and the 16th, every person at that address will get every address that's listed will get an invitation to respond. And it'll say you can respond by phone, by calling, or you can respond by going on the internet. Mm-hmm. You can use your smartphone. Mm-hmm. On March 16th through the 24th, you'll get a reminder letter asking you to please respond.
That's good.
So that's the second notice.
And that's a good thing because you don't have to worry about whoever coming in. Yeah.
And between March 26th and April 3rd, you get a third reminder. That's a postcard saying, please respond to the census.
Okay.
And then April 8th through April 16th is a reminder letter. And then you should get a paper questionnaire because they say, well, you know what? This is the fourth time around.
Yeah.
Maybe they want a paper. Maybe they don't want to complete it online or through the phone. And then you'll get a final reminder, April 20th through the 27th. Now, after all of those reminders, if you don't complete the census voluntarily, then in May, there will be a U.S. Census Bureau representative knocking on your door. And they will knock on your door, and they will come 7 times. That's a lot of times. 7 times.
Yeah.
And the portal is still open through July 31st. And so you can still go and complete the census online or on the phone. But after the 7th attempt, they'll find a proxy, which is your neighbor. And they'll say, hey, neighbor, who lives next door?
Oh, okay.
How many people are there? But that may not be, the most accurate because your neighbor may not know who was living there, who left. And so April 1 is Census Day. That is the day where the U.S. Census Bureau wants to know where you will be a resident. And so if you are living in Illinois on April 1st, you are a resident, you deserve to be counted, you should be counted. And so if you just complete it voluntarily, then no one will knock on your door. And the reality is we want a higher self-response rate. That is what the $29 million is supposed to be for the state. And I want to also say that, the state invested, this is the biggest census investment that any other state has done per capita. Wow. So we have the most money per person in Illinois than any other state has. And so, but also the county has made investments and the city has made investments and private organizations have made investments. And so we're all trying to put in our resources to make this the best census ever.
Well, there certainly is every reason to make this the best census ever. we certainly need it. So I just wonder, how do they get the people to do this?
So with the $29 million.
Let me leave a number. I'm sorry. If anybody has a question, 312-374-8130 is our number. Yeah, go right ahead.
So with the $29 million, we had a notice of funding we released to solicit applications for nonprofit organizations that wanted to be regional intermediaries. So they would be like fiscal leaders, and they would receive a grant from our state office, and they will orchestrate census outreach and education. And they're also sub-granting a part of that grant to smaller organizations. And so we have 31 regional intermediaries throughout the state. So this money is going to touch every corner of the state. Our website is census.illinois.gov, and you can look under regional intermediaries and see who has received a grant. And so in Chicago, we have 9. We have habilitative services on the west side. We have community assistance program on the south side. We have YWCA that is in charge of providing outreach for the LGBTQ community and people experiencing homelessness. We have University of Illinois tasked with outreaching to the college students and the young and mobile. We have so many grants. And so people will see organizations in their neighborhood hosting census nights saying, come on out and learn about the census. Or we have computers set up, come complete the census. And you don't need internet, we have internet. There will be forums. People will be knocking on your door saying, hey, I'm a friendly face. Because we know that trusted messengers are important, right? So I'm more likely to open the door for someone that looks like me than someone who doesn't. Yeah. And so we want to get the trusted messengers out. And so we're empowering them because they know their communities more than other people do. And maybe and probably more than the U.S. Census Bureau does. And so you'll see people in your neighborhood who are getting the word out. And then you'll see people in your neighborhood who actually work for the U.S. Census Bureau.
This is important. Let's take a caller. Charles, thank you for calling WVON.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
Fine, Charles. Thank you.
I just wanted to ask: is there like a huge social media campaign for maybe like the younger group, where like maybe the Census Bureau have something together where they could use their cell phones and tablets and things, really user-friendly programs where they can be counted that way?
Thank you for that question, Charles. So, yes, you can complete the census on your phone, on your smartphone. And also, some of our grantees will be promoting the census on social media. The state will be awarding a marketing firm a grant, and they will be using social media a lot because we have to reach people where they are. Right. And so a lot of people use social media. Some people use radio. Some people use newspapers. Some people use billboards. And so we're using all of those different tactics to provide outreach and education.
That's great. Yeah, you got to use everything you possibly can, which is a great thing. Do you think, Well, do you think you would know? Do people understand the importance of this? Do you think that you're going to get a lot more information out there, obviously?
Yes.
But what kind of response do you get?
I think we're getting different responses from different groups. You know, like some people are afraid to complete the census. A lot of elderly people, especially, don't want to use the internet. I know my grandmother doesn't like to pay her bills on the internet. She's like, I don't want to put my debit card number on there. And then you have some people that say it's not important. I don't think it matters. So I think we're trying to find that one thing for each person or each group or each area to say this is important to you. So for some people who may not have kids, maybe saying school lunch is affected by this. Maybe that won't resonate with them. Yeah. But maybe if we say the highway, the roads will be affected. Or, you know, I think a lot of companies use census data to say, you know what, there's a lot of people in this state or this city or this town. I want to bring my company there. So that creates jobs. And so I think some people don't understand it. So we're trying to get the word out. We know that it takes about 7 touches, we call it, from a person who completely doesn't understand or doesn't want to know about the census until they activate. And so they need to hear it 7 times. And so maybe they'll hear it from me today, and maybe they'll see it on a billboard tomorrow, and maybe they'll see it on social media. And so I'm getting a mix. And so my hope is that at least at the end of all of this, people at least know what it is and why it's important.
Well, you certainly explained why it's important. Give your information once more before we close out, would you please?
Yes.
Yes.
And so our State of Illinois Census Office, our website is census.illinois.gov. We also have a new map at mapthecount.org. And so on that map, you will be able to see all of our grantees and where they're working across the state. So if you're like, who's going to be knocking on my door in my area, or who's going to be hosting census events to provide outreach, you can see if which organization is in that area. And so that's important. So census.illinois.gov and mapthecount.org.
The governor made a great selection.
Thank you.
Give your information once more, you yourself.
My name is Marishonta Wilkerson. I am one of the state census office directors. Our website is census.illinois.gov.
Thank you so much for coming in and giving us this great information.